I'm Van.
I'm Sori.
That's Lavi.
And Salty and Chip.
Okay.
Very awkward. I'm sorry, guys. Anyway, so guys, I have an announcement. Mark is taking somebody, some lucky villager, is going to get to go with him. If you like Game of Thrones, I guess they're doing like this concert series, and it's in Connecticut. So if you're in like the Massachusetts or Connecticut area, like he bought a VIP ticket like for him and for somebody else. So you're going to get like, I think you're going to meet the composers, you know, there'll be food, there'll be drinks. So you have to be over 21. But he was going to take one of his friends, but he decided, you know what, I'll take a villager with me. So if you live in that area, it's on the 28th of September and it's a Friday night. So if you're interested, I think it's around like 4 o'clock or something like that. So if you're interested in that, send an email to Mark. He's like 47 years old and he like...
Ultimate Musings or Mark or whatever?
Yeah. Yeah. Well, I mean, it's right here.
Oh.
Yes, it's
okay.
My announcement. Anyway, so send him an email. He's like 47 years old. He's like, it'd be cool if it was like somebody my age. Doesn't matter if it's male or female, just to hang out and just have fun and stuff. But even if you're younger, he said he can still chill with you. So anyway, yeah, send a message to him and hopefully... I don't know, somebody's, I would love to do something like that. Sounds really exciting.
I know.
So.
Shoot, I'll go. Get y'all.
We're all in Maine. All right, guys. It's in Connecticut, but he's saying if you're in Massachusetts or Connecticut, you're still close enough where you could make it. So, yeah, so contact him.
All right. Speaking of which, Metallica Saturday.
Yep.
Metallica Day.
Yeah, Metallica Day.
Metallica Day.
Right, that's good.
Of course, premature apologies to all the people upset. Metallica again!
Oh, I thought you were apologizing for saying our villager's name in the last show wrong.
Ooh, we do, yeah, it was Jose, not Juan.
Yeah.
I'm not apologizing for that. He knows that I love him.
We make no apologies here. No, we do.
It's the way. You know I love you, buddy.
Yeah.
Apologize.
We just don't know everything.
I sent you a shirt.
That's why I always have Vin read the names. It's spelt like Sarah, but I just don't know.
And it's really like Peter.
Saray.
Yeah.
How could I have known her wrong?
So, yeah, it's pretty cool. Dyers Eve.
Yeah.
Again, premature apologies to the person who will inevitably complain that we're doing a Metallica song.
As if you would apologize to that person.
Well, it's tongue in cheek.
Oh.
We do 14 songs a week.
I know. One person was like, I'm unsubscribing from your channel because basically I don't have exact words, but they were saying that we were small-minded or something because we did another Ghost song or something like that. No, it was because we did another Slipknot song. I'm like...
Right.
We didn't do 14 Slipknot songs over the last 7 days. We did one Slipknot song and 13 other ones. Anyway.
It's unreal. Anyway, Dyers Eve.
We're done. Y'all ready for this? And go. didn't want this one to end, to be honest with you.
That's a pretty instrumentally complex song. There's like a lot of there's like it pretty. This is probably the most complex song I've heard.
Really?
From them. Just like there's a lot of. It's very, very subtle stuff.
Oh.
It's not like it's just normal, but then it's like, oh, we'll put a. It's very hard to explain. But
that's interesting.
Very complex song musically. I mean,
I really enjoyed it. I really enjoyed this one.
Yikes.
And the topic was very interesting as well.
Every parent's nightmare and every parent's probable reality to some degree.
I know. It's going to be tough, you know, when your kid turns out to be a rock star and then, like, makes a song, like, if you're a prideful parent.
Well, his mother would have never heard this song because she died.
Okay.
She was long dead.
And then his dad what?
So his dad
he
probably
didn't care what his dad thought.
Well, no, his dad probably would have heard it. I mean...
What do you mean, well, no? I said maybe his dad wouldn't have cared that he wrote it. Or
Well,
at least
I'm
that's
sure
what I
his
thought
dad
I
would have
said.
cared.
I took 2 Benadryls and I'm so, like, my head feels, like, weird.
Shouldn't have took him.
Well, my eyes are getting itchy and my face is... On all the reviews, I'm like...
Go trade off. You're probably allergic to something.
I do think I am.
Viva Deceiver!
I think, though, that this song, like, I don't know what his upbringing was, but I could relate to a lot of these feelings. Like,
I thought it was
loved
interesting.
this song as a teenager.
I thought it was interesting listening to it. I was like, I wonder how Sori's going to feel about this one.
Yeah.
Yeah, but then it's
But there
like...
was some stuff in there that I was like, well, no, what did this guy have to go through? Go ahead.
Well, it's like, as a parent, it seems like you're trapped to fall into one of 2 songs. This type of song,
Yeah.
or the Tupac song where he's pissed at his dad for not giving him any guidance. Like,
Yeah.
there's no, like, handbook on striking that perfect balance of being an overprotective, sheltering parent versus being an uninvolved, that's why, we're in the car one time and Dorian was like, how do we know that Christianity is true? Mm-hmm. I said, well, I know Christianity is true. Looks like you don't. I was like, you got to figure that out. Mm-hmm. And he's like, well, what's the answer? I was like,
I'm sure that wasn't satisfactory to him.
well, I said, well, you got to figure it out, buddy. I'll give you some books and such to read. He was like 8 at the time.
Oh my gosh. I think that's a really good answer to get.
I remember telling you that. You looked horrified.
Yeah, I still feel a little bit like I'm understanding it.
You
now
were like
more.
really upset at me about that.
I think it's because I remember, like, being a kid. I was probably about that age, and I like distinctly remember where I was. There was this old store that actually ended up closing, and we were sitting outside of it, and all of a sudden I was like, what if I'm not a Christian at all? Like, what if I've just believed all this and I'm like, I'm going to hell? Like, what if I don't? And then, like, the teachings of Jesus, well, it's still, this is why I didn't like you answering that one that way. And the teachings of Jesus, there's like one of them where he says, like, if you don't hate your brother, mother, father, whatever more than me, you're not worthy of me. And I was in the car and I was like, I don't love God as much as I love my dad or my mom. Like, my dad or my mom, they're my parents and they're right here with me. And so, like, I started getting scared. And so I asked my dad, I'm like, Dad, like, and I told him and he was like, you're good. He's like, you're good. He said, you'll be going to heaven. Don't worry. And he, like, chuckled about it, because he thought it was cute that I was in panic. And then he was like, I was like, how do you know that I'm a Christian? He said that he knew, and I believed him, and then it kind of, like, calmed me, because I'm like, okay, well.
Because you were good?
Because my dad said I was. No. He didn't mean good as in, like, you're a good little girl, and that's why you're going to heaven. He just meant, like, you're okay, like, you are going to go to heaven. I feel like if you had
struggled with those questions earlier, then you wouldn't be struggling with the stuff you struggle with now. Because that whole question is revolving around the same topic.
Shoot.
So, sure.
Well, anyway, it eased me that day. But yeah, I guess.
So that's why you were mad at me for answering Dorian that way?
Yeah. So, I know that my dad, said that to me coming from a very good heart, but maybe he didn't know the other information to tell me, because that would have been a good time to tell me the gospel. Yeah. Well, I didn't like it, because I wanted you to.
Well, that's a different, that's a different question. That's a different set of questions.
Yeah.
He was saying, how do we know any of this is true?
Uh-huh.
And so, I said, yeah, that's a good question.
Yeah.
And because I wanted to train him because I knew those questions were there with him. The other ones, not so much.
Yeah.
But with him, you know, like, there's a whole bunch of ways to do that, which is like stifle that question, like, how dare you ask that question?
Yeah.
Which a lot of parents do. There's the quick, easy, silly answer. Or it's like, this kid's gonna have questions all of his life, and my job is to like come beside him and kind of be a consultant, be a spiritual advisor to him, but I can't, you know, I can't sit there and force feed him everything or give him everything on a platter, because that's not how the struggle works.
No, yeah.
I mean, I remember when I was a kid and I had those questions, and
me too.
it just, I kind of like internalized a lot of that myself, and I would just kind of work it out with me and God, you know, as a kid. And I never asked anybody. It wasn't because I was afraid to. I mean, my mom would have been great with that. She would have, you know, whatever. But that was kind of my walk with God at the time. I just worked it out with me and him.
I remember never asking questions about stuff because I felt like, what if they don't have the answer? And I felt pretty confident that nobody's going to be able to answer my question because nobody else was talking about those things. So that would have, you know, it's such an awkward thing, like asking a question and the other person doesn't know the answer. They feel uncomfortable that you asked it. Then you feel uncomfortable.
Yeah. That's just
so
one
you
example.
just worked it out inside yourself. How? Like through what you knew of the scriptures?
No, I just
or
talked
through
to God.
your thing with God?
That's
what I ended up doing with a lot of it too.
Until I had peace with something, you know, when I was 6, 7, 8 years old. But I was asking some pretty major existential questions. And then, like, I'd become a teenager and I'd hear people having these questions, and I'd be like, oh, aren't you beyond this already? I didn't find out till recently, like, people weren't asking those questions when they were a kid. I'm like, oh shit. But, you know, it's like, I feel like every parent, like, for example, like James's kids.
Yeah.
Like, James Hetfield's kids, like, you don't think they can come up with a song against their mom and dad? Like,
yeah.
You know, you weren't around my whole life because you were too busy being a rock star.
Right.
You know,
right. Yeah, I get you.
As a parent, you're almost doomed to fail. You know, and I think
if your theology is correct, and we all have issues from the beginning, then of course you're going to be a bad parent.
Yeah. I think though when you grow up, you kind of like go through a period where you're like, my parents sucked, they were terrible, they did a terrible job, and then you get older and you're like, well, I did the best they could.
Yeah. Yeah, I think I went as a teenager. I went through a phase where I was like, yeah.
This is like their third record. This is after.
How old were they at this point?
28 probably.
Yeah.
Because this is after Cliff Burton died, the guy in the bus and all that.
Yeah. Yikes. Yeah.
And I don't know if they had kids. I wonder, like, if you're a rock star when you're in like your late teens, early 20s, if that maturity process like gets slowed down because you kind of live like you kind of get an extended adolescence. You don't really have the 9 to 5 and all the other stuff that like trains your mind to a certain level of, you know.
Yeah, and nobody wants a song about I rose up early and went to my work and worked really hard and got a paycheck and supported my family. Nobody wants a song like that. Right. People want stuff like, you know, the hell.
No, I'm just saying like.
So I'm saying that would extend, I think, the immaturity as well because you're making money off of still feeling like a teenager.
Well, they were, I mean, Master of Puppets. They had already Master of Puppets, which is a pretty.
I'm talking about Metallica, honey. I'm talking about all rock stars.
But I'm talking about him.
I thought you said you wondered if it extended.
Well, if you're because they became rock stars when they were pretty much close to being teenagers, not rock stars like that. So I'm saying I wonder if it extends your adolescence, at least for him, because it's like, why is this still an issue for you at 28? Mm-hmm. But then again, if you've never dealt with it, then it doesn't matter how old you are, because you know people can say that inner child thing is corny, but that's some real shit. Mm-hmm. It's real shit. Like, you know, if you have something in your childhood that's unresolved, and you never deal with it, well, there's nothing magical that happens once you transition from 17 to 18.
Yeah.
So there's part. So like, I'm wondering, like, okay, maybe this is stuff that he never never was able to deal with and talk to his dad about. Obviously, couldn't talk to his mother because she was dead. Mm-hmm. She was the one that died because of the Christian Science thing, I'm pretty sure. She had cancer, she wouldn't get treatments or whatnot. So like at the start it says, believer, what is this hell you've put me through? Believer deceiver.
Oh my gosh.
Because it's like, you know, they got him to believe in God or whatever, but it was all a lie because she died.
Yeah.
You know.
Hidden from this thing they call life. Yeah, it's weird because it sounds to me like he had a very sheltered upbringing. And then all of a sudden he's like out in like the real world. Like, and I remember hearing people saying like, you guys don't live in the real world. And I'm like, what are these people talking about? I don't live in we don't stay in our house. We go out, we do stuff. And like now I actually understand what that person was saying because there's so much more out there and the majority of the world doesn't live like I had a very like I had my frustrations growing up and it was extremely sheltered and stuff like that. But at the same time, my parents, like, I think that they did. I think they wanted to protect me from so much stuff. And I think that they succeeded in protecting me, but it didn't deal with the shock of when you actually get out into actual what real reality is. Like, when it says, down at the bottom, it said, innocence torn from me without your shelter, barred reality, I'm living blindly. I'm in hell without you, cannot cope without you too. Shocked at the world that I see, innocent victim, please rescue me. And you kind of feel like that, like when everything is like, whoa, you're actually seeing stuff, you know, like in how the majority of the world lives and I guess the majority of the people around you, like seeing what other people went through and stuff like that. Like for me, that I kind of see that.
I didn't grow up sheltered.
No, you didn't. You grew up Christian, but it wasn't sheltered Christian. Like I don't even think I would have been able to hang around with you. We would have ministered to your family, but that would have been it.
You would have ministered to my family. No way.
I think my mom would have gone over.
Yeah.
No.
I think your mom would have wanted to, but I don't think it would have happened.
I don't know.
It was just we weren't that type of family where people would come and help us, and we wouldn't accept it. We were never that type of family.
Well,
I mean, she just we weren't definitely weren't sheltered, and we always talk about it like, but that's like with the kids, you know, it's like. The term sheltered is such an interesting topic to me. That's why there's another thing that you disagreed with my parenting styles where I won't distribute things equally. Mm-hmm. Sometimes I'll give one kid something, another kid. I mean, there is equity in the sense that there's, you know, if a person misses out on Tuesday, we have a mental note. We go, hey,
yeah.
But like, it's not one of those things where everybody all the time is going to get something equal that all the other ones get.
Right.
And you were upset about that.
Yeah,
I said, I said, is that the world they're going to inherit? They're going to get everything equal all the time?
Oh, I guess not. And no, I remember when you said that as far as like teaching the kids to share, because I was thinking they should share everything, and you're like, is that the world you live in? You let somebody drive your car if you know that they're gonna crash your car or do something destructive, like you're gonna let that person use your car? I was like, well, no. They're like, okay, well, if they can see that one child is destructive with their stuff, you shouldn't force your child to share with that child. Let them make that decision that they're not gonna do that. If they're willing to make that sacrifice, fine, kudos to them, but not gonna force that. I was like, okay. But your mindsets on things were so weird to me. Now I see the no, I'm probably not in all of it, but a lot of it I see the rationality. Is that the word?
Rationale. I mean, it's like I'm trying to create the realities of the world with a sort of a safety net. Mm-hmm. But like the term sheltered is very interesting to me because it's like, as opposed to what? Being unsheltered. If there's a snowstorm outside and I say, hey, come in here, and it's like, why are you trying to shelter me? It's like, hello?
Yeah.
My point is, like, your job as a parent to some degree is to shelter your kid.
Yeah.
Just you not to hold him prisoner.
Right.
You know, so it's when you're an angry teenager, you don't realize how impossibly difficult it is to be a parent and balance all that shit.
Yeah.
You know, because there are some parents that don't shelter their kids from anything. Like, I've known kids that their entire lives got fucked up because the parents were so negligent that kids ran into pornography and it fucked them up, both up.
Yeah.
Like, they've never been, you know, so it's like, And you know, so then it's like, I wish the parents would have sheltered those kids from that shit.
Yeah.
A lot of things would have turned out differently for a lot of people. You know, there's that one time we were driving out the street and we saw this, like, couldn't have been more than 6 years old, walking out by himself 2 o'clock in the morning.
Yeah. In
a pretty dangerous area. It's like,
yeah,
I wish that kid was sheltered. You know what I mean?
Right.
When you grow up in the because these are suburban problems. Like dear mother, dear father. Most people in the hood are not saying that.
That's true.
As a matter of fact, Tupac's song is called Dear Mama.
Right.
So this song, Dear Mother, Dear Father, Tupac has a Dear Mama song.
Wow.
Because his dad's not around.
Not in there.
So like, you don't understand what it's like to be unsheltered. You know what I mean?
Wow,
So it's like, okay. You better think, like, I get it, like, you know, things could have been different with you guys, but I'm glad that, you know, you had your mom and your dad and that they were so involved in your life that they overprotected you. Mm-hmm. You know, it's like, I would rather my kids be, you know, overprotected than underprotected.
Do you think that some kids are just, like, bound to be more angry about it? Like, my brother doesn't seem like that it affected him, or my sister. Like, neither one seemed that they're, like, affected by...
Yeah, I think, you know, you're the middle child.
Like, I wanted to get out from underneath the rules. Like, my God, like, I felt like I was, like, suffocating underneath it. I just felt like when it was saying, like, day in, day out, lived my life through you, pushing onto me what's right or, you know, what's wrong or right.
Right, yeah.
Hidden from the things that they call life. Every thought I think you disapprove. I remember feeling like that. I was like, I literally cannot make a decision here that you're going to be proud of. You know, curator, dictator, always censoring my every move. I like felt like that. If if I hadn't burned all my journals, like you could read them, and I felt so claustrophobic and so trapped. And like I remember being in my room and looking at the ceiling and like just thinking like I have to get out of here. I can't do this.
Yeah.
And all the while, like, I believe that, you know, I think that decisions were made for me out of fear because I was like that. Like, I want to get out. They were fearful of, you know, what might happen to me or whatever. But
that verse I could relate to but see, I was a very opinionated, verbose kid.
Yeah.
And, you know, in Jamaica,
oh my gosh.
Jamaican parenting, like, kids are seen, they're not heard. Like, you don't get to have an opinion. I mean, and that...
He says it in the song.
That's another reason why, you know, I'll let the kids argue with us. Mm-hmm. And that you don't like either.
Well, that's because sometimes it gets tiring.
Well, it does.
No,
and at some point
I just went down and I said, okay, we're starting to record and get my food when it comes here. Give a $5 tip to the driver. $5? Why can't we give 10? I said, the whole meal costs $12. Like a $5 tip is good. So $5.50? I said, no, $5. 5.00. Yeah, but why do we have to do $5? Because I said do $5. I gotta go record. Like, everything has to be like this. Can't just...
Jihad.
Everything has to be a struggle.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean...
But you don't, that doesn't exhaust you. But you don't like when we do like the firesides and the debates and stuff like that, I couldn't debate for hours like that. That's not like, at least this phase of my life. Like there was a time where I loved like arguing back and forth about stuff, but at this point I'm like...
Well, it depends. It depends on what the issue is, and it depends on, am I finding out anything new? That's my big thing, is I like new angles to things. Like that's what fascinates me about those discussions. It's like, people, why are you always having the discussion? And it's like, well, it's something I've never heard before. Mm-hmm. So I'm like processing the thing as the guy's talking to me. It's very interesting shit. But with kids, like, it's not necessary. It's something different because I genuinely, there are sometimes I was just being a jerk as a kid, but there are other times when I genuinely didn't understand why we had this rule, or why are you saying it like that, or why did you do that with that person? And, like, you couldn't question it all. And I remember there was like this one phase, I was around 11, 12. Mm-hmm. Everything I said was wrong. Everything I did was wrong, at least in my perception. Mm-hmm. And of course, when my brothers and I get together and we talk about life, like, they don't look at it that way. Right. So it's like, you know, and I'm a middle child, you're a middle child, so some of that probably has to do with a more artistically inclined kid, or there's one, the more kids you have, you'll have one who is not compliant. you know, with rules or defiant, which is interesting
that was
because
me.
the one that's in trouble all the time is not the defiant one. The defiant one is the oldest. When I say defiant, like, well, fuck you type of person, like, that's my oldest. Not the youngest. The youngest wouldn't be like that. The youngest one like get in your face and talk shit. The oldest one.
Oh yeah, you're talking about your kids.
I'm talking about our
Yeah.
kids, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Like there's one right now that's getting in a ton of trouble, but he's not the defiant one.
No. He'll be like, I'm so sorry.
I'm so sorry.
The minute your door closes, he's like, I'm going back to the shit I was just doing.
Yeah. He's just doing it because he just can't help. He has no self control. But
Yeah.
the older one, the oldest one, he's the defiant as hell.
Yeah.
You know, and he's the one that was saying, "How do we know that we believe what we believe?" So, like, managing him is difficult at times because you have to maintain order because otherwise he'll run everybody into the ground. But at the same time, like, there's something brilliant about that.
He told
You
me.
can't stifle it.
He told me the other day that he loves how predictable we are. He said that's really good for him. That we're very predictable. I thought that was cute.
Well, I mean, he's. What's interesting is he had his mom was not this type of parent. Was not very engaging and involved and sheltering.
Right.
But
I know.
You are very litigious and he likes that because it gives him some sort of stasis.
Yeah.
But this is what I'm talking about. Like, if you've never experienced the chaos of having an uninvolved parent,
Yeah.
you don't appreciate this stuff. But because they've experienced chaos before, you come and it's like, oh yes, we know what to expect tomorrow. Great.
Well, the oldest thinks that, but our youngest son is not like that. He doesn't
Sure
like
he is.
that
He
thing.
said he thanked. Remember when he was doing school? He thanked you. You changed his life on
For
all this
school because I taught him to read. But like as
shit.
far
No, he
as
said you changed his life. You didn't just say you taught him to read. I mean, now he's going through whatever, but I guarantee you, when school starts back up, his behavior will change because he's got all this. You know,
yeah.
he'll have some consistency. I think like not doing school is like too much for
Well,
him.
I brought it up to him. I'm like, hey, school's gonna be starting soon. He's like, he's my favorite student. He freaking loves school.
He loves it.
So like, whatever it is that he has to do,
But
like,
it's the order.
yeah.
It's the order. So like when
I told him,
can-
I'm like,
it
if you're
regu-
good and you don't keep doing the things that are bad, like I'll let you go on the computer and like do hours of school.
it
He's
regulates
like,
him.
really?
It regulates him.
Yeah.
So like if you didn't have a parent that
Yeah.
and so it's so interesting. It's like pushed onto me what's wrong or right.
Yeah.
I was talking to that anarchist guy,
Yeah.
and we were talking about hierarchy and how he said hierarchy isn't natural to the human experience. And I said,
Oh yeah.
I said, yeah. So when you have a kid and cute little Susie goes to Walmart and steals those cookies,
You're
you see
gonna
her
let her 'cause
munching
there's
on
no
those
hierarchy?
cookies in the back seat of your car. You say, Susie, where'd that come from? And between chunks of chocolate chips, she says, oh, that came from Walmart.
Yep.
And you know good and well you didn't buy any cookies. You're gonna tell little Susie, well, it's my opinion that you shouldn't steal.
Right.
But hey, you're your own
But it's
person.
your life.
It's your life. He said, no. I said, right. So there is hierarchy. But my point is, like, this is also strange to me, like, pushed onto me what's wrong or right. Like, aren't you supposed to push onto your kids what's wrong or right to some degree?
Yeah.
Like,
Well,
you're supposed to allow them to decide for themselves?
You're supposed to let them do behaviors that will land them in jail when they're grown up.
They give kids eye jammies and take their Legos? Like, you're supposed to let that go? Like, aren't you supposed... Because, like, isn't that the whole point of grounding a kid?
Yeah. No, I hear you.
Like, think about grounding a kid or taking away, we had this conversation a couple weeks ago. We probably have to publish this at some point. Where we're talking about, disciplining kids. And it's like, people were like, well, you don't have to ground them. You can take away privileges. Mm-hmm. But even then, I think about that. It's like, you're not doing what I think is right. So now I'm going to take this thing from you. Mm-hmm. Like, wouldn't that 6-year-old interpret that as you're pushing on to me what's wrong or right? If the 6-year-old could formulate that protest, they'd be like, you motherfucker.
Yeah.
You're imposing your morality on me.
Yeah.
How dare you? Well, that's kind of your job as a parent. You know, like we all know what a spoiled kid is, and none of us like being around.
Right.
And we generally say that's an annoying fucking kid, but we really blame the parent.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Well,
for sure.
Like, I don't understand it. Maybe it's because, like, we're parents now. You know, maybe... I wonder if I would have talked to Vin when he was 17 listening to this song.
I think, for me...
I never listened to this song a lot, though, on the Justice record. It was Shortest Straw on one and Blackened.
For me, like, I didn't have a problem with my parents telling me what to do when I was a child. But, like, I felt like when I was coming into my teen years that I didn't need to be policed so much. Like, I felt like, I'm growing up now, like, you need to give me some space and,
right.
like, you know, and...
It's true.
That's what bothered me.
That's true.
I never felt like I was growing into being a woman, like I could make my own decisions. And even after, like, I, like, completely grew up, like, there was still, you know, things that were, like, you could tell that I was not being respected as, like, an adult. Like, I'm a grown woman now.
It's true.
Like,
that is true.
You know,
because...
so that's what I think I was resenting was, like, I'm not a child. I'm not a baby anymore. Like, I'm growing up, and you need to let me grow up. And you know what? You need to let me make some mistakes. But I think I felt like that, I think that my parents wanted to protect me from making mistakes because, like, as an adult, like, you know, like, certain things will bring about certain other things. You know, like, I remember people saying to us, you know, about us growing up, like, oh, they're so sheltered and they're gonna, like, grow up and it's once they get out from underneath their parents' thumb, like, I remember people saying they're gonna get pregnant and blah blah blah, and, like, so it was like there was, like, this big thing, like, oh my gosh. And now I'm like, that was so bad. Like, why is that, like, the big, like, oh my gosh, they could get pregnant? Like,
oh,
I'm like,
God. They could get pregnant.
That would encourage somebody.
God forbid.
Yeah, that would encourage somebody to say, well, I don't want people to know, like, I'm gonna go abort the baby or something like that. Like, thank God that never happened to me. But, like,
weren't you told, like, if you ever get pregnant, you're out of here?
Yeah, yep. I wouldn't be able to stay at my parents' house. I would have been kicked out.
Okay.
So, I mean, yeah, but.
It is true though. As a kid gets older, you gotta kind of like release the.
You gotta let them take that fall.
But I think there's some kids where, like, the stakes are just higher. Like Zoe, like I'd be like, okay, she can make her own mistakes, but Johan, like, I feel like he would drive drunk and, like, I'm scared to death of him having a car.
Yeah, no, I hear you.
I feel like he would, like, so, like, there's some, like, Zoe, I don't have a problem with her having a car.
Right.
Zoe could have a six-pack in the passenger seat. It wouldn't bother me at all.
Right.
But, like, Johan,
no.
Like, I would want him to have a breathalyzer, and I would tell him he's got, like, a half an hour behind the wheel because, like, because he's so reckless.
Oh, I know.
That the mistakes that he makes are, like, hundreds of dollars every single time.
Yeah, as a child, so
it's like, you know, so, like, there's some kids where it's just like the stakes are just so much higher, and I think with the other two, like, it's like, what's she gonna do? What's he gonna do? Whereas you could, like, do some epic shit. Mm-hmm. You know?
No,
what I mean?
I know. Yeah.
And I'm the same. Like, my brother, but I knew this. I had the self-awareness, and I understood why my mom was the way she was with me, because I was so much like her, and she understood. You know.
Well, I will say that I think that because they sheltered me so much as a child, that I was more apt to be more reckless as an adult because I didn't understand the dangers that were out there.
That's confusing to me. What reckless things have you done as an adult?
No. I'm saying, like as a teen, when I became a teenager, there are certain situations that I put myself in, and by the grace of God, I walked out of there without a scratch on me. But when I look back, I'm like, that was some dangerous shit that I did. And even, it's not even like it's that, like, crazy, but, like, I didn't realize how sick people can be in their minds and what they will do. Like, I was a very beautiful girl, and my friend was very beautiful. And so we were, like, you know, we like these small little summer dresses, and I remember we went to pick up a cat at some apartment, and, like, when we showed up to the apartment, the walls was just pornography. Like, I should have said, I'm not going up in this creepy apartment. This is not safe. Like,
Not without a
this
gun.
could be a very, very bad situation. It didn't even occur to me. I felt like I was like, you know, like, I'm like an empowered woman, you know, like, I'm strong, like, whatever. Like, we're going to go in there and take care of business and we're going to get out of here. But, like, what if there was a couple of guys up there? So we went, he said we had to go all the way up to his apartment because that's where the cat was. Why couldn't he have just brought the cat down? I was praying. We go all the way up into his apartment, door shuts, we're in this apartment. I'm like, so much could have happened because I didn't realize, like, some of the stuff that I find out now that probably most people
Yeah, but
know,
didn't
like, oh my gosh.
didn't your dad didn't warn you about that at all?
You know what it was? Is that everything was always the woman's fault, so I kind of felt like, you know,
Like what?
if I went out running in shorts and a tank top,
Right.
because it was hot, and then some psychotic person was following me, then it's my fault because I was dressed like that. So when everything is your fault anyway, then you can't make distinct lines. If it was like, you know, that's not the wisest thing to wear because men, you know, can be lustful and like something, you know, I never want anything to happen to you or whatever, like that would be one conversation. And then you could say, but when everything's your fault anyways, then you're not saying, yeah, running outside with a tank top and shorts, nobody should be following you and all that. But if you're gonna go up into some guy's apartment when his freaking wallpaper from the front door, from the front lobby all the way up the halls is pornography, like this is not safe. Like you shouldn't go in there. Like
I feel like you just made the argument for your parents sheltering you. Like
No.
I don't see your sister doing that.
no, she would have never done that. Neither would my brother.
Okay, so you took risks that the other ones wouldn't take.
Yeah.
So that's why they were the way they were with you. My brother 4 years.
Yeah, but I'm saying if I would have thought that something could happen, what?
You just took more risks than them. My brother, 4 years in Truman High School, never had one fight, never took a weapon to school. Me, I didn't get out 2 months before I got involved in all that shit. And I was never a gangster.
Yeah.
I was never a gangster.
Right.
I was just this a certain type of person. And then I was bringing weapons to school just, you know, because, you know, whatever. So it's like weapons on the train, and my brother never got involved in, you know, whatever, raves and, you know, all the crazy shit that he got involved in. You know, so it's like I was just inclined, and unfortunately for my mom, she was a woman, she couldn't, when I hit 15,
Word,
16,
I can't even
I was
imagine.
impossible to manage.
Oh my gosh.
I was impossible to manage. It's like dudes out there trying to kill me. Like what?
Right.
What could you? There's no dude. There was no man to like manage me. So you know, I mean, the only advice that my stepfather gave me, I mean, God bless him, was like, just don't make sure you don't get anybody pregnant.
What is everybody's big thing with this? That's a big
That
thing.
was a big. Well, I mean, I would have been a horrible father at 15.
Yeah.
Dorian will be a great father at 15, but me, I was terrible.
He did.
I wouldn't, you know, like, honestly, if the kids got pregnant at like 15, 16, I'd be like, oh, that wouldn't bother me at all. I'd be happy.
I would.
Because then you have to stay around me.
Yeah, I don't. I wouldn't want that for them because I want them to be able to, like, when you, what is the Chinese proverb? Children tie the feet. Like, that is gonna happen. Like, you can't do all the things that you want to do. You know what I mean? But
Yeah. I mean, yeah, that's a different song. But I mean, I just think that there's some kids that are just more apt to do self-destructive shit, and then when you're a parent, you react to that and go, ah!
yeah,
Like, wait till Johan turns into a teenager. You're gonna be doing insane the stuff that your parents did with you, guaranteed.
I mean, I've already
Yeah.
resorted to some.
You're not
training
gonna
my parents
you're-
did.
because but when you love your kid, you know, there's so much at stake.
I know.
It's like
I
the
know.
Mice and Men, where there's this big idiot, and he has these mice, and he loves them so much that he crushes them.
Yeah.
He just squeezes them because he loves them, but he doesn't have, you know, he's slow. So he's always killing these mice because he loves them so much.
Oh, he was mentally retarded?
Yeah, he was slow. And so, like,
call him an idiot.
well, I mean, because his buddy treated him like that. There was these two guys, and he treated him like that. But the point, now I think about it, Pinky and the Brain is probably loosely based off of that. But anyway, he'd love these little mice, and he'd squeeze them to death. That's basically what life is like as a parent if you're not careful.
Yep. Yeah.
You know, but then, you know, at the same time, I'm not gonna put my, you do, like those kids, they died at Christmas. They got behind the wheel of a car, 17, 18-year-old kids.
Yeah.
And they were drunk at a party, and everybody in the car is dead.
I know.
Because their parents gave them the freedom to, whatever. Okay, great. 6 people are dead on Christmas Eve.
Mm-hmm. Jeez.
Like, no, you can't hang out with those people.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's true.
Everybody's like, oh, they're great kids. Yeah, but they're teenagers and they're destructive and fucking crazy.
Yeah.
And they don't understand
the implications.
You don't understand anything. Like, when I first, saw someone get shot and I'm looking on the ground and a dude is like, and I'm like, fuck. I was like, And
have you seen something like that? That's crazy.
And I was like, and then hearing everybody and all that,
Yeah.
it just changes the way that you look at stuff. And it's like, well, people got shot for less than the shit that we were doing. Mm-hmm. But I was completely reckless, and so, but by that time it was just way too late. My mom, there's nothing, she didn't even know about that stuff. I never even told her. I went back home and, I went home and went to my room. To this day, I never told her. I never told her the stuff that I've seen or taken part in or any of that. No, I even told my brothers. So it's like, oh, you know what I mean? It's just crazy. So, you learn things as a kid when you're a teenager, and hopefully you make it out alive. Because there's a lot of stakes, but as a kid, you don't realize that.
No, you don't. You
until it
like
happens.
Invincible.
Until it happens, and then it's like, oh shit, that's what my parents were talking about.
Yeah.
They should have engaged you as far as how to manage your beauty and how to manage men's self-control issues. They should have done a better job at explaining it, but you still don't understand it until that happens to you.
Right.
You just think that your parents are. When you're a kid, you've got this arrogant thing that your parents are exaggerating everything.
Yes.
Because your parents have seen death, or your parents have seen rape victims and all. They've actually talked to them and cried with them, and they've experienced life where you haven't experienced that before. So you think everything is just, lollipops and shit.
I remember one night I was in my room and I heard there was a lot of commotion, and my parents said, stay in your room, or what the heck is going on? And then I saw emergency lights and fire, police cars and all kinds of stuff, and I could hear talking and something hysterical happening in our living room. It was the middle of the night. This woman just showed up to my parents' house. All her clothes were all torn off, and she just started banging on. I thought to myself, when I found out what happened, I was probably older, I thought to myself, my gosh, I'm so glad of all the doors she knocked on ours, because my mom put a blanket around her and, comforted her and stuff. And I thought, I think she was messed up from some drugs and stuff, because she seemed pretty confused, and she kept asking for a certain person that didn't even live there. And, my parents, got the proper help for her and stuff like that. But I just was like, wow. I mean, I don't know if it's the proper help, to be honest with you. They did what they could, called the authorities and got her, taken, whatever. But, brought to the hospital and stuff. But it's
it's a tough job.
So it was obvious that something had happened to her.
Yeah.
And the condition of her clothing and stuff like that. So you were right. They had times where they held people and stuff like that.
Yeah.
I will say that I forgot about this, but then as we continue talking, I remember my dad not wanting me to listen to other music that wasn't Christian in the car, but then saying he was like, I remember him saying, you're growing up, and I've given you rules, and I've taught you how to live your life and to do what would be best for you, but at some point, I gotta just trust that God's Spirit will lead you. Mm-hmm. So I remember when he told me that, God's Spirit was leading me, but I just didn't always want to follow, so there was some stuff that I would do and I could feel God saying, don't do this, there's a better way for you, but I would be no, I want to do X, Y, or Z thing, you know what I mean? And then in the end I'd be whatever. But
yeah, in Proverbs it says, listen to the instruction of your father and the wisdom of your mother. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of that's kind of your job, is to, as a parent, is to work yourself out of a job. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And you just hope and pray that the principles you give them, because it's at stake, they don't. Mm-hmm. And it's one of those things where you're trying to prevent so much dangerous shit from happening. So if it works, they go, see, nothing happened.
Oh my god, the kids are like that. They're like, we didn't, nothing happened when we went in the river. Yeah. I'm like, right, that's because I told you to stay by the shore.
You're never
yeah, but still nothing happened.
Yeah.
I'm like,
yeah. The only way they'd be convinced is if a riptide takes them, and then it's like, well, shit. You were right, Mom.
Yeah.
And it's like, no parent.
Why'd you let us go out there?
No parent wants to be in a situation where the kid even says you were right.
Yeah, no.
It's much better to be a parent that says, where they say, you were over exaggerating. I'll take that 10 times out of 10 than have a kid come back, any of my kids come back and say, Dad, you were right, here. Yeah. I'd much rather them say this than that. Mm-hmm. Because I've seen way too many young people just like completely mowed down by either violence, drugs, trafficking, all that shit.
Yeah.
We've seen the fucking 16-year-old girl who thinks she knows more than her parents and then goes and dates a 25-year-old guy who's really a pimp.
Yep. Oh my gosh.
But she knows.
Yeah.
Oh, he loves me, blah, blah, blah. And then he's got you working out in the corner.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does your dad know? You don't know him. He doesn't know anything. There's Ricky with the fucking tattoo. He knows. But anyway. So, I mean, it's tough. It's tough because, like, I feel like any parent can get put in this situation. But I do think you're right. Like, I think that the key is, like, as they get older and more mature, it's interesting because we're talking about this with God. Like, as humanity got older and more mature, then the laws became less and less and less, and it became more about, whatever. So, and I've always said, like, I try to parent like God, and kind of like, there's a lot of times when God says, okay, I'll let you make your own mistakes. He does it all the time. Hey, Cain, don't do that.
Yep.
Then Abel ends up dead, right?
Yeah, I know.
Like, he didn't show up and stop him. So it's like, but I'm not that guy. I'm going to stop you. What do you give this song?
9.
This is a 9.9. The reason it's not a 10 is that if it was a 7-minute song, it would have been a 10. I felt like the song ended way too early.
Oh, I felt the same way.
Wanted more and more.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
And it was kind of like melodic too. Damn on the guitar part. I really like this song. I can't believe it. I guess it was the last song on Justice, so I never really. That To Live Is to Die is a very melodic, sad instrumental, and like that's as far as I would get. I'd never listened to Dyers Eve.
Oh, okay.
Because I felt like I was like, there's no way to end this record beyond that because it was such an epic. Instrumental, so I never even paid any attention to Dyers Eve.
What does Dyers Eve mean?
I have no idea.
Oh, okay. Anyway.
What did you give it?
I gave it a 9.
9.9. You should have had it 2 minutes longer, Hatfield. Then out.
Sorry out.
Gone.
Dear mother, dear father.